Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Really excited to have you here today and really excited to talk with my good friend, Mr. Mark McKee. Mark was on the Flip Nerd show like a lifetime ago, a long time ago now, because we've been running that show for almost 9 years, 8.5 years. And Mark is somebody I admire. He's been in the game for a long time. So we're going to talk about today, what does success mean to him? And what does success mean to somebody that's been in the game for literally decades, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Good to be here with you, Mike.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So you're a veteran. You're like an old dog. You're a young guy. I know you're super fit for your age. You were like mid 50s, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
But there's always
I don't have a six. I don't have a six yet. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you know what's funny is like you've been in the game longer than me, but a lot of people think that I've been in the game for a long time, and I know I'm starting to feel like every once in a while I'm like, wow, maybe I have a little bit of wisdom here, but nowhere near as much as what you do, my friend. And so excited to talk to you today because I think a lot of people, get in this game and they want freedom and they want success and they don't really know what that is maybe at the time. And then along the lines, we all redefine it. We keep moving the goal line for ourselves. And you get to a point to where you're like, and I know you're there, I don't really have to do this anymore. But it's kind of in your blood or you have other goals and it's not necessarily all about the money. Some of it's about legacy and stuff. So excited to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, likewise. So it's funny, just as you were mentioning that about, being in the business for a long time. So I actually started back in 1986. So
okay.
36 years ago now. And
wow.
It's funny thinking about it because when I started, I was 21, almost 22. So, and I started as a realtor. That's how I got my start. And I just worked super hard, but I was always the young guy. The young kid. Right. I remember going on my first appointments and
I remember those days.
I remember going to my first appointments and they would look at me like, what are you, the paper boy? Who are, yeah. No, I'm the real estate guy. I'm here I'm
the guy with all the money that's going to buy your house for cash. Yeah.
Well, back then I was a realtor, but
right.
So that's how I got my start. But it's funny being the young guy. Now I'm kind of the, we go to the meetings and the masterminds and things. And I'm kind of like the older guy. I mean, I still feel young, and like you said, I'm probably in better shape than most 30-year-olds. So I feel good, and my mind is still great. And so, but yeah, a lot of years. So, but yeah, just to your question, I started in '86 and worked as a realtor and just busted my butt. A lot of struggles, but I became the number one agent at the biggest company in town here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I live, and a lot of hard work. And that's when I first got into buying properties because we might have talked about this before, but my first manager, he told me, he said, Mark, you can make a lot of money in commissions if you're a top realtor. He says, but I can tell you, I've seen a lot of realtors. They make a lot of money during their career, but when they get to be 50, 60, 70, they have nothing because they made a lot of money, but they spent it all. And he said, Mark, just start buying a couple houses a year. You're a realtor, you come across opportunities, you're young. Just even if you buy a couple a year, by the time you get older, you're going to have all these free and clear houses. And because there's no retirement program when you're in business for yourself, it's not like you work for the county. So I really took that to heart and just started accumulating properties. I always joke that, some people collect stamps or baseball cards. I collect houses. So I've got dozens, 50 some rental houses now, and mostly all free and clear, a couple small loans left on a few of them. But yeah, so I don't really have to do anything. I mean, you can do the math, 50 some properties, average rent around $1,500 a month now. So that just comes in, mailbox money, whether I even get out of bed or not. So I don't have to, plus all the income from, our market here and our operation in Albuquerque. I mean, there's there's a lot of money coming in. So I
Sure.
really don't have to, but, and similar with you, Mike, I know, I know we've gotten to know each other. I mean, gosh, that first time we met was, gosh, 9 years ago, I forget. And then
A long time. Yeah. It's been a
yeah,
while.
we did the interview, and then I've got to know you more through Investor Fuel and Investor Machine. Two great companies that you have, and even have spent time. We were down in Cabo, what,
That's
four
right.
months ago.
That's right.
You and I together with some other guys and our wives.
First time we met each other's wives. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so that was a lot of fun. But my point was, I know you really don't have to do it. If you wanted to, you could just go somewhere and chill on a beach, but we're not wired like
Who
that.
wants
and
to do that? Yeah.
and I can tell you that the thought is, oh, I'm going to make so much money and then I'm just going to check out. But the people, and people, I'm sure, that have tried that, after about a month or two, they're going insane, because
Right. A
human
day or two.
beings, as humans, we're goal oriented, we're goal seeking, we're achievement creatures, and if we don't
Right.
have something to work towards and achieve, it's kind of empty.
Yeah. I put a little write up on Facebook today. I try to do a little just something that's on top of my mind. And actually, just made me think of this. I basically said, so a couple things. I said, winners lose more than losers. And that's because we never stop. We just keep going. And like losers, if you will, they quit when they lose. It's like, well, I lost, I'm done. And we just like, well, we say that was a learning point. I get to keep going. But the other thing I said in there is that winners, we know our best days are ahead of us. Like tomorrow is better than yesterday. Next year's gonna be better than last year. We just keep going forward because we're progressing and we enjoy that. Where losers, and I'm not trying to like call anybody out here specifically, but we all know people that all they talk about is, they're like 40 years old and their best years are when they were the captain of the football team in high school or whatever. Their best years are behind them. And it's because they quit when they lost and they just never move forward and they just are stuck,
they're
right?
they're still reliving that one touchdown, yeah,
Right.
from high
Right.
from high school. I think there's a song that says
But
that
my
as well.
point in that is like part of, I think, what keeps us going, where we don't think about some line in the sand where we can kind of retire necessarily, is that we're wired to keep winning, to keep moving forward, to keep challenging ourselves, even though we don't have to anymore. It's like if you're a true athlete, you're competitive for the rest of your life. It's not like something you used to do, right?
Correct. Yeah, and you've got to have goals, and things evolve and change. I remember, my gosh, back when I started, it was tough. I mean, when I first started in the real estate business, man, I look back now, I get goosebumps. It was brutal. I mean, just I had to work so hard, and there's so many frustrations, and I felt like quitting so many times, but just kept. I knew I was on the right path, and that's one of the keys to success is, you've got to have talent. I think there's two components: talent and drive, motivation and work ethic. So talent and drive. And if you asked me which was more important, I would say the drive, because I've seen many people, I know you have, where maybe they weren't the most talented, but they just went out there and worked and
Yeah.
worked and worked and kept pushing forward. They had adversity, they had setbacks, but they just kept pushing forward, and they got better. Their skills improved as they went along. But you could show me somebody who's really talented, but they just want to sit around on the couch all day.
Yeah.
It's not
You
really
can
going to go
learn
anywhere.
talent. You can learn talent. You can learn those skills, right? Especially if you're
Yes.
motivated. And I have a
Yeah.
friend when I went to grad school. I haven't. This is somebody I haven't talked to in years. I know this guy was like a genius, like aced his whatever they call so long ago I even forgot that the GMAT, like
GMAT.
the
Yeah.
score you have to take to get into grad school or apply for, and then straight A's and like everything. He was a great student, and then he didn't have a job for like 3 years coming out of one of the top 20 grad schools in the country. And he was like a philosopher, but he just couldn't like do anything.
Well, it's like a lot of,
You got to have a beer with, but not to work for you or with you.
well, it's just like college professors, and not to pick on them, but there's a
Sure.
lot of super smart college professors that are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
So
no
yeah.
doubt, no doubt. So, I think one of the questions was, what does success mean to you? And I know, and I haven't asked you this question before, I don't think, is I know that's changed for you over time. And I think that that's okay. Right. But I'm sure now, like obviously when you first started, you didn't know that you'd be training your kids and working with your kids eventually, when you first started, you didn't have all these kids, right? So I'm sure that that's a part of your success formula now. But what do you think success meant to you when you first started,
Well,
and what does it mean to you now?
yeah, it's a great question. And, one thing too, just thinking about what you were just saying is, and you brought up my kids, several of my kids were baseball players, big baseball players in high school and stuff. And it just brings back the thought of, if you don't step up to the plate and swing the bat, you're never going to get a home run.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to strike out. The old story, Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than anybody else, but he also had more home runs. And maybe
Right.
that's different now. But the point is, if you're going to strike out sometimes, but as long as you have more hits, you just keep out there and swinging the bat, and you're doing the right things. And so, success to me, if you really boil it down, just means being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
Yep.
And in to be able to do that, there's two main ingredients, which are time and money. And I often tell a story in my neighborhood. I'm in a really nice gated neighborhood here, and some of my neighbors are doctors and lawyers and such. And I see them driving out every morning, while I'm, in my gym shorts, going to do a workout, and they're headed off to their office. And so they're making good money, but they're working all the time,
Right.
So it's one thing to have a lot of money and not much free time. And then you can also find a homeless person who has plenty of free time, but they don't have any money. So the key is time and money. And the way to achieve that is with residual income, mailbox money. And I was fortunate years ago to learn the difference between linear income and residual income. Linear income is the money, you work, you get paid. Like when I was a realtor, sell a house, get paid, sell a house, get paid.
Yep.
Or flip a house, get paid, flip a house, get paid. Stop doing that and you stop getting paid. So yes, I still flip houses and wholesale houses, but the key all along, I viewed my real estate business as a means to acquire cash flow assets. So my focus was always buying more and more properties, at the right price, and making sure they were, good investments and cash flow. And then once it comes, I think it's, I want to say it's Think and Grow Rich, where in there it says, once riches come, they're going to come with such velocity or force that you're going to wonder where the money's been hiding all these years. And, because I had a lot of years of struggle, and I mean, I was never homeless or anything like that, but just a lot of mental anguish and struggle. And part of it I put on myself, just because I had very, very high standards and I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be number one. And I was just driven, which may not be good all the time. But so, yeah, just that success mindset. And what I was saying about money is, it's almost weird somehow, where one day you wake up. I know this happened to me, and I just, because your head's down and you're working, and all of a sudden one day you look up and you're just like, wow, I got a lot of stuff here. I got, there's a lot of money coming in here, and I don't need to work anymore. And wow. And it just, and it all stems from doing the right things, the foundation to everything. And most everybody knows this, but it is honesty, integrity, doing the right things, do what you say you're going to do, show up on time, do those basics. And if you have the right strategies and you work hard, now you got to have the right strategies, because you could be looking for a sunset, but if you're headed east, I don't care how fast you run, you're never going to you're never going to see a sunset. So you've got to be pointed in the right direction. But if you work hard, just have faith that, and work on yourself, work on your skills, educate yourself, surround yourself with great people, like you do with your investor fuel mastermind. It's been great bunch of guys. Really commend you for that, applaud you for that. It's a great group. And just surround yourself with those type of people. Too many people have those naysayers and doubters and wet blanket people, dream stealers, we call them sometimes. Just surround yourself with the right people and stay on that path. But residual income is the key.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. And we have some rentals here, and I'm doing a lot more multifamily now. And with the rentals, even though we have somebody else manage them, there's still some work. They're not completely passive, but it does create residual income. With the multifamily, those are the most passive thing that I have, because they're professionally managed by like national companies, and they're just big machines that have on-site management and everything, right? And Jason Lewis at the last Fuel was talking about this idea of a minimally managed like business, right?
I remember.
And I think it resonates because a lot of us as real estate investors, we tend to think about, I have a passive business, which people associate with rentals, which isn't always passive. And then or I'm like in the business, but there's this idea of like, somewhere in the middle. It's like, I'm a little bit involved. I'm making sure that it's not, the train isn't coming off the rails, but I've got a team in place. I've got systems and processes in place. I've got good people in place. And I know that, you've built up your business over time in a way to where, like you said, early on, it was a grind because you're doing everything, and we all were there. Now you might be working more than you want to, or maybe you're not, but you're probably more in the minimally managed state, right? You're making decisions, key decisions on stuff, but you're not doing everything yourself, right?
True. And that's the old adage of working on your business instead of always working in your business. And I really focus on that. But I will say that I don't mind doing some of the things. I even some of the rehabs I'll stop by, every now and then, just to. And my main crew's worked with me for almost 14 years now, so I really don't even. I mean, they just do. They know what to do. So, yeah. But I don't mind going by. I don't mind even meeting with sellers. Sometimes I enjoy. I enjoy getting out there, but I also want to have the freedom. We were talking before we went on the show here. I just flew back into town. I got home. My flight was late. I got home about midnight last night. So I've been out of town every week for the last 6 weeks. One of them was when I saw you in Scottsdale at the Fuel event, which was awesome. So, but yeah, just being able to do that again, doing what you want when you want. But another key thing I would probably say to maybe somebody who is younger and is coming up and working hard is that, it doesn't happen overnight. There's, right. you gotta pay the price, but you gotta put in the time.
Your dues, right?
Yeah. I mean, all these free and clear properties I have, they weren't, well, a lot of them I did pay cash for when they were, back in 2010, 11, when I could buy 4-bedroom houses here for 40,000 and 50,000. A lot of those I did just pay cash for, but a lot of them I had loans, and you put something on a 15-year loan, and when you're younger, you can think, oh my gosh, 15 years. Oh, I can't wait that long, but put a house on a 15-year loan, get a tenant in there. If it cash flows, they're going to buy the house from you. Here's one thing, and this, I know you're not quite as old as me, but the time goes by, man. I mean, 15 years. No, I mean, 15 years ago, I'm sure you remember, we're right now, we're 2022. I still remember the whole big thing about Y2K, when it went from 1999 to 2000, and the world's the electric grid's going to shut down, and computers aren't going to work, and all this other stuff, which none of that happened. But
nothing happened. It was like,
that seems like yesterday. I know your son he's 15, 16?
14 now, 14.
14. Yeah. So probably
when I started in real estate investing, he was just born.
And exactly. That probably seems like yesterday.
Exactly. It sure does.
I mean, so the time goes by, and that's one thing as you start to get a little older, and you've passed the 50.
Are we talking age here, Mark? I'm 47 for the record.
Yeah. 47. Okay. I didn't mean to.
Although some of the guys in the group act like I'm older than that, but it just makes them feel good about themselves. But
you still are a very handsome man, and you look more like 40 to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In real estate, we all with our real estate business, you round up, but everything else we round down, right?
That's right. So, but what happens is you start to get older, and I'm in my mid 50s now. Again, I still feel great. I was snowboarding 2 weeks ago. I was out riding motocross bikes last week. I still do all the crazy stuff. I went on a big hike yesterday. So it's nice. Very active, do a lot of stuff. So I still feel great. But you start to realize that, you're not going to live forever. I mean, I want to live to be 100, 120, whatever. So I'm not going to die anytime soon. But you start to your mind shift changes a little bit when you get a little bit older. I mean, when you're in your 20s and 30s, that's the furthest thing from your mind, and which is good. You just keep cranking away. But my one advice would be have that long-term focus. There's no such thing as get rich quick. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I guess if you, but then there's more luck. I mean, I was going to say maybe if you bought crypto when it was 10 cents or something, I don't know, which I'm not into crypto. I don't know anything about it really, but, or maybe you win the lottery or something like that. But, real estate, whether it's multifamily, single family, it's not get rich quick, but it's get rich for sure.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. And it's been undeniable. Like there's things that you can't predict. When I started buying my rentals, I had a mentor here locally. It was a guy that had like a couple thousand rentals, got a lot of wisdom. We started buying them in the 70s, and just a real smart guy, kind of millionaire next door type guy that like nobody really knows this guy, who he is, because he doesn't come out of his cave very much. And he doesn't live a flashy life or anything, he just looks like a regular guy. Lived in the same house for 30 or 40 years, modest house in a modest part of town and all that stuff. And he said to me, you're never going to get appreciation in Texas. Like you got to buy for cash flow. And I took that to heart. And the truth is they never cash flowed as well as I thought they would, but the appreciation actually has been insane. And I don't think anybody could have predicted it, because that's how it was for a long time. But, the whole world's upside down now with inflation and appreciation and stuff like that, especially in markets like Vegas and Texas markets, which are just, massive increase in population going on too. So.
Yeah. Can't count on that. I mean, don't bank on that appreciation.
No, you shouldn't bank on anything, but I think you should bank on that good things happen over time, right?
Well, you can bank on appreciation, but not 30% a year.
Sure.
Maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That's more.
And the
normal.
truth is the appreciation these days, let's be honest. I mean, we could have a whole nother show on this. Mostly the appreciation is destruction of the dollar. It's not just, regular old inflation. It's your purchasing power is being
it's just general inflation and people fleeing fleeing into hard assets that help hedge against inflation. And that's one of the other great things about real estate, is it's a hedge against inflation. I mean, I'm doing another round of rent increases, and I try to keep my rents reasonable. I believe that maybe we'll talk about that here in a second, as we get to wrap up here in a few, is about where I think this market's going. But rents, I'm doing a whole nother round of rental increases. But if I have a house that maybe fair market rent is $1,800, I might rent it for $1,550 or $1,600, just because they know they're getting a good value. I mean, they're all free and clear anyway, but of course I want to get the most I can, but then the people know they're getting a good rental rate. They're not bugging me. They're going to stay put, because if they move somewhere else, it's going to cost them more. And so it's kind of a win-win. I mean, I'll push it up, and I also believe that some of the markets that have seen crazy rental rate increases, for example, Las Vegas, where I am now, Phoenix, especially, the top 5, I think, are Phoenix, Tampa, Las Vegas, Dallas is probably in there somewhere. But I believe, and of course, my crystal ball, probably not a whole lot better than anybody else's, but I have been doing this a long time. I do believe that prices are going to correct and that rental rates will sag a little bit. So, because when I started, just for example, here in Las Vegas, when I started as a realtor back in '86, the average price of a house was $70,000. And there was just slow, steady appreciation through the 80s and 90s. And then we know what happened in the mid 2000s. And 2004, 5, it just went ballistic. And the average price here in Las Vegas in the summer of '06 hit $325. Well, 4 years later, in 2010, it was $125. Wow. So it went in '06 from $325, 4 years later in 2010 to $125.
Wow.
And I mean, we just had the biggest bubble ever. Vegas was the epicenter of all of that, which meant great opportunities. And I mean, I still own a lot of the houses I bought back then for dirt cheap. And now we're back up. And one thing I might say to, I don't know if you were in the room at the last Fuel event, but when I was up on stage talking, I said, how many of you have been a real estate investor for less than, 8 or 10 years. And some hands went up, and I said, well, you guys don't know crap. I think I used a different word, but and I did, what I meant by that was you haven't seen what you haven't seen.
You're prepared for what you don't know.
Yeah. And I'm not a doom and gloomer or anything like that, but I just know, that this is unsustainable. The truth is that a blind monkey could make money in real estate the last few years. You could buy a property on the MLS and go in a bidding war and pay top dollar. You could pay over retail, and the prices are rising so fast. You could still be a hero
for sure.
So anybody could make money in real estate the last 5 years, unless you're a complete idiot. But my advice is just be careful, because change is coming. I can feel it, and I'm not saying it's going to crash as bad as it did here last time, but I think a correction's inevitable.
Yeah. Well, for sure, and it doesn't mean get out, right? It means be smart.
No, just be
don't
careful.
Overpay. Don't over rehab. Like there's, I said this yesterday. I was on somebody else's show, and I know people that have stayed principled. They're still trying to buy really deep. They've struggled a lot the past couple of years because they're sticking to their principles of trying to buy deep and not overpaying. But when they get deals, they're super profitable, right? And I also know people that are only buying deals right now because they're overpaying and they're over rehabbing to the market, and they're setting the high bar on the comps, which is, in my opinion, not something you should ever do. You should really focus on paving, not paving new ground, like just follow what somebody else has done before, like find comps, find a bunch of them, feel comfortable that you can fall somewhere in the middle there, but not like over rehabbing and trying to, my whole goal is to sell a house for 100,000 in this market, in this neighborhood that nobody else has even sold for, but I'm going to make mine so much nicer that we'll probably be okay, because those people are going to get hit first. Right.
Yeah. And it's just sheer craziness right now. And we do mostly fix and flip. We renovate most all the properties. We do some wholesaling when we're busy, but mostly fix and flip. And I have one, it just closed yesterday. I bought the house for $270 or $280, and it was a light rehab, maybe 10,000, 15,000. And I thought that I would be able to sell it for around 355, 360. Long story short, I after the rehab, I put it on the market. I had 25 offers, and I ended up selling it to we had offers from Invitation Homes, and I ended up selling it to Progress Homes for $390 cash. No repairs, no nothing. Crazy.
That's Progress.
Progress Homes.
I'm not familiar with them.
I guess they bought 40,000. They're kind of like an Invitation Homes, or it's one of the hedge fund one of the big buyers.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with these guys as rent growth stagnates. We'll see. I mean, we know what happened with Zillow. I mean, Zillow lost almost $1 billion trying to do what we do. We'll see what happens with OfferPad and Open Door. We'll see the iBuyers. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah. And I think the good thing for guys like us, and hopefully a lot of folks that are listening to this too, is, there's a lot of opportunity in a down market too. So just make sure that you're prepared when the market starts to go down, not to retreat, but to pounce out of the bushes, because you've been squirreling away cash, or you've been building up private lenders that are ready to pounce, and you've kind of educated them like, hey, when you start hearing in the news that the market's decreasing, that's the time that we're going to go in, not the time for you to get scared. Right.
And I would say, and I know there's a lot of good private lender partners, and through your organization, there's some good ones. But my advice would be to, again, live below your means and start saving that money. Because to do what I do on the scale that I do and the way I do it, I mean, you're going to need a few million cash. Now, yes, you can do hard money, or you can do private lenders and things like that, which, if I was in a pinch, I would do that. But having the flexibility just of having the money to do deals, and, my advice right now would be build up your assets, build up your cash reserves, keep some dry powder. I'm not saying don't buy right now. I'm still buying. But just be cautious. And the other thing too is, as I mentioned a minute ago, Las Vegas went from, the peak in 2006 to the bottom in 2010. That was 4 years, maybe almost 5 years. So the real estate market, I always kind of liken it to a cruise ship, a big tanker ship. It doesn't turn on a dime. It's going to take a while. It took 4 or 5 years last time. So, but I think the turn is starting. I can feel it in my bones. It's starting to turn. And I know now we've got some other chaos going on, politically, globally, and we'll see where that leads. And so I don't know. Interesting times right now.
It's an interesting time for sure. Yeah. The good thing is people always need a place to live. And so we play the game right, and we're a provider, and we do the right things. Like you said,
that's the great thing, not to interrupt you, but the great thing about real estate and multifamily is great. And, it's more turnkey, hands off, like you said. I don't think the returns, at least for me, the returns are much better with single family homes. And I mean, you can do well with apartments too. But the guy I was just looking at, I lost my, I know what I was going to say. You were talking about houses. And the great thing is, it's the last thing somebody is going to let go. They'll go behind on their credit card payment. They'll let their car be repoed. The last thing they are going to want is to be out in the street with no roof over their head. So they'll borrow, they'll do whatever they can. I mean, getting evicted is the last thing that anybody wants. And I will say also, if you want to get into it and do what I do on a larger scale, I mean, you need to have a good team. And I've got people that work with me. A lot of my family members are working with me now, my kids. But you got to be a little tough. And me, I'm a nice guy. I would give you the shirt off my back. I help people. I do whatever. But if you're going to be a landlord on a large scale, you can't listen to every sob story. I mean, if my wife was in charge, nobody'd ever pay rent. I mean, she says, "Oh my gosh, you evicted that lady with the little baby." I said, "Yeah, I'll evict her again. I'll evict anybody else like her." It's just, I mean, I hate to be crude.
Well, you have to rule with an iron fist a little bit, yeah.
And some people aren't cut out for that. You got to be a certain kind of psycho like me to be able to turn it on and off.
Yep. So Mark, you share a lot of wisdom. Obviously, you got a lot of experience. We appreciate you sharing a lot here today. But you've been in the Investor Fuel group. You and I have known each other for a long time. You've been in the group for about a year now. Would you mind just kind of sharing a little testimonial on your experience with Investor Fuel? I know you've been around the block a lot. I don't know what you're doing here.
I forgot. I even had my Investor Fuel. You sent me some goodies the other day.
Okay.
So thank you. Yeah. So I just saw that was sitting there. So yeah, Investor Fuel. I know I mentioned it earlier in our talk here today, but great group. It's a mastermind. If you surround yourself with turkeys, you're never going to fly like an eagle. And you've probably all heard your income will be the average of the 5 or 10 people that you hang around with. If you hang around with clowns, you're going to be a clown. That's it, or a loser, or whatever, or just not successful. If you want to be successful, hang around with successful people, driven, like-minded, entrepreneurial type people, and that's the value of a mastermind group like Investor Fuel. In fact, you and I met at a mastermind group, whatever it was, 8 years ago, whatever it was. And so, Investor Fuel, if anybody's listening to this, you would want to talk with Mike. I mean, they don't just let anybody in, so you would need to qualify. But if you are an aspiring or an experience, and there's guys in Investor Fuel that are doing hundreds of deals a year. And then there's some doing 10, 20, 30, and there's a couple different options for getting into the group. But I love it. Look forward to all the meetings and the camaraderie and the knowledge and the sharing. That's the great thing, is that it's a group of top people. And you would think that a lot of them would keep everything close in and not share their strategies and secrets. But that's one of the great things about the group, is that everybody's willing to share. And if somebody has a problem, you go to one of the meetings and you say, "Hey, I'm having a challenge with this." Well, somebody in the room has already faced that challenge, and call this person, or do this, or here's how I handle that, or hey, here's my checklist for that, or here's the forms we have for that, or here's who you call. There's always you can always find a solution to almost any problem there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mark. And I think you would agree with this. Even though you've been doing this for a long time, we've discussed this, you have a ton of wisdom and experience. You also have to be a lifelong student, right? Like you're never afraid to learn something new. You have to keep learning to move ahead. And so you get in rooms like Investor Fuel, and even guys like you who have a ton to share also are open to like learning new things and seeking those things out even, right?
When I go to meetings like that, I come back with pages and pages and pages. I'm the whole time, I'm taking pictures of what's up, which I don't know why I do that, because I know you guys have that available
Record
on
everything. Yeah.
yeah, you record everything and you have everything, all the slides and everything available. But I take pictures. I always sit in the front. I don't know if you ever noticed, I always sit in the front. I always take pictures and I always try to engage. The day you stop learning is the day you stop dying. I know you watch a lot of podcasts. That's what I do every morning when I'm working out. I'm watching all different kinds of things related to real estate and money. If you want to be rich, study money. I think it was Brian Tracy that said that years ago. If you want to be rich, study money, and health. I know we didn't talk about that too much today, but when we were talking about success, free time and money. And I didn't really get into the third one, which is health, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're dying of cancer or something, or you don't feel good, or you've got other health issues, all the money in the world isn't going to do you that anything for you. So, take care of yourself, get sleep. Like I always say, when are you supposed to wake up, Mike?
When your body tells you to.
When you're done sleeping. Yeah. That's
it's a little different when you have kids to take to school, though. I can tell you that.
Hire somebody else to take them. Yeah. Have your wife take them. No, but no. The point is just take care of yourself. Try to get off the sugar, and again, do as I say, not as I do. I mean, I am in pretty good shape, and I try to watch what I eat. But that's the number one culprits: processed food and sugar, and not enough sleep. And just take care of yourself, because you only got one. You only get one body.
Well, and you have to think about it. I'm guilty of a lot of stuff, which we won't even get into in this show, Mark. But, at the end of the day, we didn't work this hard to have life cut short, right? We worked this hard because we thought we would never die. And we know we're going to, but, you got to make it your best life for sure. So,
absolutely.
Mark, if folks wanted to connect with you or get a hold of you in some way, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, if they have anything here in the Las Vegas area, I really don't have anything to sell or promote or anything like that. But if anybody has anything for the Las Vegas market, and we're also in Albuquerque, my oldest son runs our Albuquerque division, and that's where I just came back from last night, was Albuquerque, and we're doing really well down there. And in fact, my oldest daughter works part-time for me as well. My middle son is working in acquisitions for me now. So that's good. You can get your family involved. So it's great business. But as far as reaching me, main website here is Vegas Fast Sale. So they could just email, would just be mark@vegasfastsale.com.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you joining us today, my friend.
Hey, always good to be with you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody that's watching right now, if we haven't talked before, if you're a professional investor and you're looking for a new home to surround yourself with like-minded others, masterminds like ours, just to be frank, are not cheap. But honestly, if it helps you do one more deal a year, you're going to be way better off. And it's not uncommon for people to come into our group and double, triple, quadruple their business inside of a year, just from getting around the right people and getting your mindset right. So go to investorfuel.com. We'd love to have you schedule a call and talk with us to see if it might be a fit between us. Appreciate you a bunch. We'll see you on the next show. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.